Good afternoon. This is Fox 5. My name is Helen, and today we're discussing the Southern Revolution, or the Civil War. Right now, the Southern Revolution is failing. The South is losing, and it seems like they are going to fail their revolution. Let us go to our field reporter, Robert E.
Hello, Helen. We are in Atlanta, Georgia, at the site of the beginning of Sherman's march. Sherman is marching from Atlanta to Savannah and destroying the railroads along the way. He's trying to destroy the Southern economy and make them surrender. Let us talk to a Southerner about his views. Hello, Mr. Southerner.
Hello, Mr. Interviewer Man. Well, things aren't looking good. Our revolution is looking like it might not succeed. Our revolution is very different from the French Revolution, because the French Revolution, a majority of the people supported the revolution. In our revolution, the majority of the free population is in the north, and in the south, the major population is slaves. We also have some radical people coming from the north who are trying to ruin our cause. The government was demanding things that we did not want to do. Things are getting rough down here. The government tried to stop us, but we started a war. Looks like we won't be able to succeed at overthrowing the government, though.
And we'll be back after these short messages. And we are back here again with our special guest, Professor Colton, specializing in Revolutionary Wars. He's going to tell us about how the Civil War compares to the French Revolution. He's going to do this by discussing the 8 characteristics of the Revolution. Mr. Colton?
Well, Jai, we can tell if a war is a revolution based off of an 8-part system. The first characteristic is conditions worsen, and numerous classes or groups are discontent. This is true for the French Revolution. The middle class was very unhappy with the absolute monarchy at the time. They did not like the amount of power that the monarchy had. They wanted more power than they were given at the time. This is also true for the Civil War. The Southerners were not happy with the North and the federal government trying to change their way of life. This is what caused them to start a war.
That makes sense. So as of right now, it seems like the war is a revolution so far. So what is the second characteristic?
Well, I agree that it looks like a revolution so far. The second characteristic is major demands made of the government, which, if granted, would mean the end of this form of government. This is true for the French Revolution. The French monarchy was making demands that the people did not want to follow, and because of those demands, the monarchy fell. This shows how the French Revolution was actually a true revolution because it caused an end to absolute monarchies. This, however, is not true for the Civil War. The government was not making any radical demands of the people. All they wanted to do was end slavery. Also, the democracy would not have ended without war because other countries would still have a democracy after that.
So, it looks like this might not have been a revolution.
Well, not necessarily. The American Revolution also failed this characteristic. All they wanted was no taxation without representation, but they still wanted to keep the monarchy.
I see. So what is the third characteristic?
The third characteristic is unsuccessful government attempts to suppress revolutionaries. This is true for the French Revolution. The government fueled their revolution. The king just gave in to their request and did not fight back. Also, at the storming of the Bastilles, the guards were not able to stop the revolutionaries. The same is true for the Civil War. They just kept making demands, and when the people would riot, they just let them be, and then war broke out.
Interesting. What is the fourth characteristic, Colton?
The fourth characteristic is revolutionaries overthrow the existing power and seem united. This is partially true for the French Revolution. They were able to overthrow their absolute monarchy. But after they do this, there is still a lot of discontent with the government. This is also partially true for the Civil War. They kind of overthrew the government when they succeeded. But after they lost the war, they were right back where they started before the war. So they never really overthrew their government.
And we'll be back with the next 4 after this. And we are back with Professor Colton. So, the war is over and we are only halfway through the revolution. Right now, it seems like this is not a revolution. Would it be if the South won the war?
Well, this is a very good question. So let's look at our characteristics some more. The fifth characteristic is once in power, revolutionaries begin to quarrel amongst themselves and unity begins to dissolve. The moderates gain power, but fail to satisfy those who insist on further changes. I imagine that this would happen after the war. They would not be content with what type of government to use. They would not be able to decide between a confederation or a democracy. I would think that the moderates would gain power and make another democracy just as they had before, but then some people would want a confederation.
So this looks like it might be a revolution after all.
Well, it looks like it could be. So let's look at our sixth characteristic. The sixth characteristic is power is gained by progressively more radical groups until finally a lunatic fringe gains almost complete control. One strong man emerges and assumes great power. I just don't see this happening though. They might not be able to agree on what form of government they should have, but they were trying to get away from large and powerful governments. I just don't see one man getting all the power. I don't think they would get that radical that a dictator would emerge.
That makes sense. They were all about small, less powerful central government. I agree with you on that. Continue, Mr. Cole.
Alright, the seventh characteristic is extremists or radicals try to create a heaven on earth by introducing their whole program and by punishing all their opponents. A period of terror occurs, often with a secret police or branch of military rooting out all of their opponents and all threats to the radical revolutionary government. I just don't see this happening after the Civil War. They are trying to keep their old way of life just as it had been before the war. Also, the economy would not have been ruined like it had once they lost the war. So I don't see there being any turmoil and there being any room for just one man to come and rule everything.
So, it looks like this might not be a revolution after all.
It's looking that way. So let's look at our final characteristic. The final characteristic is a more moderate group regains power. The revolution is over, but society and government goes on with some revolutionary changes made. I do see this happening. I don't think that the moderate groups will have to regain their power because I don't think they would have ever lost it. But they will continue life as it was before the revolution. That was the whole point of the war to begin with. The revolutionary changes might have been a new country, maybe even called the Confederate States of America, and there might be a new form of government, but then there might not be.
So, do you think this would have been a revolution or not?
It's hard to say. It could be either or. For the yes side of there being a revolution, there would be a new form of government in the South and possibly a new country. For the no side, life would have continued the way it was, and it doesn't follow the 8 characteristics of a revolution close enough like the French Revolution did. Personally, I go with the no side. I don't think there's enough change or new ideas to constitute a revolution.
Thank you for coming in and talking with us today. I think we've learned a lot.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Ja.
So, as you can see, the Civil War would have resulted in a revolution, or it could not have. I agree with our expert. I don't think it would have been a revolution. Thank you for watching this special edition of Fox 5 News. The Civil War, revolution or not. Have a great day. Thank you for coming in and talking with us today. I think we all have learned a lot.
Thank you for having me.
So, as you can see, the Civil War could have resulted in a revolution, or it could have not. I agree with our expert. I don't think it would have been a revolution. Thank you for all watching this special edition of Fox 5 News. The Civil War, revolution or not. Have a great day.